My name is Sergey Levkov, and today we're talking about the Quickfire ANS frame for the Autococker. These are the ANS Quickfire frames, sort of an upgraded version of what Benchmark was making at the time. I changed a few things to give better clearance for your fingers. I think my well here is deeper than Benchmark, and I radius things because I don't like sharp edges. What you're looking at here is two frames that we had cut apart of our frames as we were dialing in the geometry to make sure we had proper sear engagement with the sear lug and that we had smooth lifting of the sear from the trigger travel. We spent a lot of time dialing in that geometry to give the best possible performance. These would have been late 90s, I would say.
Yeah, like 98, 99, 2000, and then you continued making them maybe a couple years after that as well.
Yeah, until we switched over to the swing frames, and then after that we made the electronic frames for the race gun type electronics. All three of these examples are the same. I think there might have been another version after this with a trigger travel adjustment screw that I don't see on these.
Cool. Some people say that these are Lapco frames, but what you clarified with me earlier is that these are ANS frames. They were made by Technical Troubleshooting.
For ANS.
And then leftovers that maybe weren't sold to ANS maybe would have been sold.
As Lapco, that's correct.
Gotcha. Cool.
This is our original sear, and I don't think we really sold many of these because the laser cut ones, the geometry didn't really work as well as we'd like it to, and I think ANS ended up going back to the factory war game sear. And I don't have any hard feelings about that because if I can't get the geometry right, I don't want to sell it. The trigger plates were laser cut and they were precision ground. You know, I don't think anybody else was doing that. That is a precision ground surface. So is that one, and so is the one underneath. We actually have special, and this one as well. Yeah. So the polish was secondary. The key was that we had precision grinding fixtures, and we would take the laser cut blanks, and we would grind these flat and parallel so that it wouldn't wobble and it would slide smoothly and have less drag and have a more precise and repeatable trigger pull.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have any thoughts on the sear, but I know that the trigger plate works fantastic in these frames. So here we have a Wargames pre-98 style plate. And when you did your plate, you know, the geometry is similar, but there are a couple differences.
The differences are that I actually had the precision ground surfaces on it, not just the stamping or laser cut with polish. As you can see, this is just polish on here, and you can still see the marks from whatever the laser cutting or the stamping right here as well.
There's always some artifact of that.
I also got a patent on that single round hole. The reason for the slot is to create delay between firing and pulling the three-way back. And as we made better and better three-ways for ANS, we didn't need as much lag time and as much delay, and so we were able to make a shorter trigger pull by having just a small hole. Gotcha. And I think in the end, Wargame ended up copying that, and they kept making their slot shorter and shorter because I can see that slot's already shorter than some of the original Wargame plates. But the Wargame sears, we were never able to make anything as good.
Did you ever make a roller sear design?
We never made a roller sear for production. We made several prototypes, but we never got an order, and so we gave up on that.
So tell me what we're seeing in these different variations of frames. Like production-wise, they're all the same, but tell us what we're seeing with the cuts on them. This is specifically the cuts to show function.
We literally just cut the frames apart so we could see how it's working, and then we ran them on guns, we ran them without guns, and we measured the lift of the sear, how much engagement we'd have for the sear lug. We watched the ramp work and played around with different ramp angles.
And this is obviously not set up right. We just threw the internal
this is missing the trigger return spring. Yeah. Other than that, this is complete.
And then over here,
and this is another one that's cut out even more.
Yeah, just another one to kind of see. And I guess that could also be mounted on a gun, but not really used.
This one is more just about measuring travel.
This is also cut almost halfway, whereas this is full.
Yes, that's a full frame with just windows.
Gotcha. So on these frames, you said ANS was just using the Wargame sear. They were just dropping the Wargame sear into this.
Yes, they were.
Gotcha. Cool. How many Quickfire frames do you estimate were made by technical troubleshooting for ANS? Thousands?
Thousands.
Yeah.
Thousands.
Yeah.
There were thousands of these frames made.
Cool. A few other companies also use them from technical troubleshooting
Yes.
as well. Cool. Awesome.